Appenzell is a region and historical canton in the northeast of Switzerland, entirely surrounded by the Canton of St. Gallen. Appenzell became independent of the Abbey of St. Gallen in 1403 and entered a league with the Old Swiss Confederacy in 1411, becoming a full member in 1513. It has been divided since into Appenzell Innerrhoden and Appenzell Ausserrhoden since 1597 as a result of the Swiss Reformation. The territory of Appenzell as a geographical entity is known as Appenzellerland or as Das Appenzell. In political contexts, the two cantons are referred to as Beid Appenzell. History. Foundation. The name Appenzell derives from Latin. Abbat is cellar of the abbot. This refers to the Abbey of St. Gall, which exerted a great influence on the area. By the middle of the 11th century, the abbots of St. Gall had established the power in the land later called Appenzell, which by that time was thoroughly alemannic. By about 1360, conflicts over grazing rights, taxes, and tithes were causing concern for both the abbot and the farmers of Appenzell. Both parties wanted to protect the rights and interests by joining the new Swabian League. In 1377, Appenzell was allowed to join the League with the support of the cities of Constance and St. Gallen. With the support of League, Appenzell refused to pay many of the gifts and tithes that the abbot Kuno von Staffeln demanded. In response to the loss of revenue from his estates, Kuno approached the Austrian House of Habsburg for help. In 1392, he made an agreement with the Habsburgs, which was renewed in 1402. In response, in 1401, Appenzell entered into an alliance with the city of St. Gallen to protect the rights and freedom, independence and joining the Swiss Confederation following increasing conflicts between the Appenzellers and the abbot's agents, including the bailiff of Appenzell demanding that a dead body be dug up because he wanted the man's clothes. The Appenzellers planned an uprising. On a certain day, throughout the abbot's lands, they attacked the bailiffs and drove them out of the land. Following unsuccessful negotiations, Appenzell and St. Gallen entered into a treaty. The treaty between St. Gallen and Appenzell marked a break between the abbot and his estates. Perhaps fearing the Habsburgs, in 1402 the League expelled Appenzell. During the same year, St. Gallen reached an agreement with the abbot and Appenzell could no longer count on St. Gallen's support. Appenzell declared itself ready to stand against the abbot and in 1403 formed an alliance with the Canton of Schwyz, a member of the Old Swiss Confederation that had defeated the Austrians in the last century. Glarus provided less support, but authorized any citizen who wished to support Appenzell to do so. In response, the League raised an army and marched to St. Gallen before heading toward Appenzell. On the 15th of May 1403, they entered the pass to Speicher and outside the village of Vogelenzeg met the Appenzell army. A small force of Appenzell and Confederation troops defeated the League army and signed a short-lived peace treaty. Following another Appenzell victory on the 17th of June 1405, at Stoss Pass on the border of Appenzell town, the new canton continued to expand. During the expansion, Appenzell had even captured the abbot of St. Gall and in response they were excommunicated by the Bishop of Constance. However, while the Bund expanded, the Austrians used the peace to regain the strength. On the 11th of September 1406, an association of nobles formed a knightly order known as the St. Georgenchild to oppose the rebellious commoners of the Bund. Following a defeat at Bregenz, Appenzell was unable to hold the Bund together. The city of St. Gallen and the canton of Schwyz each paid off the Austrians to avoid an attack, and the Bund was dissolved by King Rupert on 4 April 1408. As part of the peace treaty, the abbot gave up his ownership of Appenzell, but was still owed certain taxes. However, it wasn't until 1410 that the area was at peace. In 1411, Appenzell signed a defensive treaty with the entire Swiss Confederacy Confederation, which strengthened the position against the abbot. Appenzell joined the Confederation as an associate member, and wouldn't become a full member until 1513. Following another battle in 1429, Appenzell was granted freedom from the obligations in the future. This treaty represented the end of Appenzell's last financial tie to the Abbey of St. Gall, and a movement to closer relationships with the Confederation. Division of Appenzell. Starting in 1522, followers of Martin Luther and Huldrych Zwingli began to preach the Protestant Reformation in Appenzell. The early reformers had the most success in the Outer Rhoden, a term that in the singular is said to mean a clearing, and occurs in 1070, long before the final separation. Following the initial small success, in 1523 Joachim von Watt began to preach the reformed version of the Acts of the Apostles to friends and fellow clergy. His preaching brought the Reformation into the forefront of public debate. In October 1523, the council supported the Protestant principle of scriptural sermons, and on the 24th of April 1524 Landsgemeinde confirmed the cantonal council's decision. However, the work of the Anabaptists in the Appenzell region in 1525 led to government crackdowns. The first police action against the Anabaptists took place in June 1525, followed by the Anabaptist disputation in Teufen in October 1529. To end the confrontation between the old and new faiths, the Landesgemeinde decided in April 1525 that each parish should choose a faith, but that the principle of free movement would be supported, so that the religious minority could attend the church of their choice regardless of where they lived. The entire Osserrhoden converted to the Reformation in 1529. The Innerrhoden remained with the old faith, while the majority of the residents of Appenzell town remained Catholic under Past to Dieppoldhuter. There was a strong Reformed minority. In 1531, the minority were nearly successful in getting the town to ally with the Protestant Osserrhoden, but an armed mob of angry residents from the neighboring village of Gonten prevented the abolition of the Mass in Appenzell. The Catholic victory in the Second War of Kappel in 1531 ended plans for a reformation of the entire canton of Appenzell. After the Second War of Kappel, the two religions reached a generally peaceful parity. They remained united by common business interests, the same political and legal understanding, a shared desire to form an alliance with France, and a shared opposition to the city of St. Gallen. This shared opposition to St. Gallen was demonstrated in the so-called linen affairs, where the weavers throughout Appenzell supported each other when they felt that they were unfairly treated by the linen industry of St. Gallen. After this time, the term Canton Appenzell continued to refer to both half-cantons, although this usage has since become outdated. Usually Diebeiten Appenzell are spoken of in a political context, and Appenzellerland in a geographic context, if the aim is to refer to Innerrhoden and Osserrhoden collectively. From 1798 to 1803 Appenzell, with the other domains of the Abbot of St. Gall, was formed into the Canton of Santis of the Helvetic Republic. But in 1803, on the creation of the new Canton of St. Gall, shrank back within its former boundaries. Geography. Appenzell is an alpine region, particularly in the south, where the Alpstein limestone range is found, though towards the north the surface is composed rather of green hills, separating green hollows in which nestle neat villages and small towns. It is mainly watered by two streams that descend from the Santis, the Ernasch joining the Sitter, which later flows into the Thur. There are trams from Appenzell to St. Gallen either through Giais or through Herisau, as well as lines from St. Gallen to Trajen and from Rorschach to Heiden. Since 1597 it has been divided, for religious reasons, into two half-cantons, which are quite independent of each other and differ in many points. The north and west portion, or Osser-Roden, has a total area of 93.6 square miles, are classed as productive forests covering 22.5 square miles, and glaciers, 038 square mi, with a mainly German-speaking Protestant population. Its political capital is Tragen, though the largest town is Herisau, while Teufen and Heiden in the northeast corner is the most frequented of the many Goats-Waker resorts for which the entire canton is famous. This half-canton is divided into 3 administrative districts, comprising 20 communes, and is mainly industrial, the manufacture of cotton goods, muslins, and embroidery being very flourishing. It sends 1 member to the federal Ständerat and 3 to the federal National Rat. The south and more mountainous portion of Appenzell forms the half-canton of Appenzell-Innerrhoden. It has a total area of 66.7 square miles, are classed as productive forests covering 12.8 square miles and glaciers, 38 square miles, and a total population of practically all German-speaking and predominantly Catholic. Its political capital is Appenzell, which is also the largest village, while Wiesbaden and Canton have the best-known Goats-Waker resorts. Embroidery and muslins are made in this half-canton, though wholly at home by the work-people. But it is very largely pastoral. Innerrhoden is extremely conservative, and has the reputation of always rejecting any federal referendum. For similar reasons it has preserved many old customs and costumes, those of the women being very elaborate and picturesque, while the herdsmen have retained the festival attire of red waistcoats, embroidered braces and canary-coloured shorts. Appenzell's annual New Year's Day festivities are still governed by the Julian calendar and thus currently held on January 14th. It sends 1 member to the federal Ständerat, and 1 also to the federal National Rat, while it forms but a single administrative district, though divided into 6 communes, Landsgemeinden. To the outer world the canton of Appenzell is best known by its institution of Landsgemeinden, or democratic assemblies held in the open air, in which every male and female citizen over 20 years of age must appear personally. Each half-canton has such an assembly of its own, that of Innerrhoden always meeting at Appenzell, and that of Osser-Roden in the odd years at Hundwil and in the even years at Tragen. However, in Osser-Roden this institution was abolished by a ballot on the 29th of September 1997 by 54% of the voters. This institution is of immemorial antiquity, and the meetings in either case are always held on the last Sunday in April. The Landsgemeinde is the supreme legislative authority, and elects both the executive and the president Landamen. In each half-canton there is also a sort of standing committee which prepares business for the Landsgemeinde and decides minor matters. In Innerrhoden it is named the Grossrat, and in Osser-Roden the Kantonsrat, as various old-fashioned ceremonies are observed at the meetings, and the members each appear with his girded sword. The site of a meeting of the Landsgemeinde is most striking and interesting. The existing constitution of Innerrhoden dates mainly from 1872, and that of Osser-Roden from 1876. The oldest codes of the laws and customs of the land date from about 1540 and 1585, the original Ms. of the latter being still used in Innerrhoden when, at the beginning of the annual Landsgemeinde, the newly elected Landamen first takes the oath of office, and the assembled members then take that of obedience to him, in either case with uplifted right hands. In fact, there are 2 Landamen, who are called Regierende Landamen and are still Stehende Landamen. The terms are for 2 years and will switch between them after the 2-year, but they have to be confirmed every year by the voters. In particular, the Referenda Landerman has to be confirmed by the voters by actually voting. This actually leaves the voters with the possibility to drop any member of the government during the Landsgemeinde and select someone else. Bibliography. Appenzelliche Jahrbucher, G. Baumberger, Juhu Appenzelland und Appenzelland. J. G. Ebel, Schilderung die Gebirgsvölker die Schweiz, Volume I. W. Kobelt, Die Alpwirtschaft im Kant, App Innerrhoden, I. B. Richmond, Appenzell, H. Riffel, Die Schweiz, Landsgemeinden, J. J. Tobler und A. Strabi, Die Alpwirtschaft im Kant, App Osserrhoden, J. C. Zellweger, Geschichte die App Volks, 6 vols in 11 parts, J. C. Zellweger, Jr., Der Kant, App A. Tobler, Das Volkslied im Appenzelland, J. J. Blumer, Staats- und Rechtsgeschichte die Schweiz, Demokration. This article incorporates text from a publication now in the public domain. Chisholm, Hugh, ed. Appenzell, Encyclopaedia Britannica, Cambridge University Press.